Hello and welcome to another PlanetDestiny video. Today I'll be sharing with you some of the things that change in the Night Stalker subclass. Why am I excited to share this? Because the Night Stalker is absolutely my favorite of the three new subclasses. I'll be sure to get into that more once I'm done going over everything that's changed. And one final thing to note is that just because Bungie let us mess around with the full subclass builds doesn't mean that the stuff can still change with them before launch. The talents you see in this video might be completely reworked by the time the game ships, so just be aware of that. Anyway, let's get on with the Night Stalker. For grenades, no perk effects were changed here. We still have the Vortex Grenade, the Slash Grenade that's been renamed to the Void Wall Grenade, and the Spike Grenade. Overall, the grenades in the Night Stalker are a little bit lackluster. The new Void Wall Grenade is probably the best choice of the ones in the tree. It does ample damage and can zone off larger areas easier than the other two grenades. Once you get used to it, it's the clear winner. For jumps, there were no changes from the E3 build. You still have increased height, control, and triple jump. I'm actually okay with this, since later on down the talent tree, Night Stalkers have access to the Shade Step ability. If this class had access to both Blink and Shade Step, then it would be the de facto god class of PvP because of its high mobility. That's probably why you won't see Blink appear here. Alright, so the Shadowshot super is unchanged. However, the talents for it are entirely reworked for the better. Bloodbound. Tethered enemies explode when killed. Damage to tethered enemies is shared to all. Black Hole. The Void Anchor has increased range, lasts significantly longer, and can tether more targets. And Quiver. Fire Shadowshot up to 3 times. Void Anchors have reduced range. First off, I only use Quiver when I can actually play the subclass. My reasoning for this was I wanted more opportunities to get used to shooting stuff with the bow. I really enjoyed using Quiver, but once you get used to using the super, I feel like Bloodbound or Black Hole will be the better choice. Quiver was nice to pick off low-tier enemies, but the range reduction was huge and made the super turn into kind of a slower golden gun. Again, I didn't get to try out Bloodbound or Black Hole, but the obvious synergies with some of the later passive talents is just too good to pass up. The melee overall has been unchanged. It still has Smoke Bomb Grenade, but it's a little bit more responsive now for the better. And Venom adds a toxin that damages enemies within the smoke. Vanish in Smoke. You and your allies near smoke explosions vanish from sight. And then Snare was unchanged from the E3 build. I messed around with Vanish and Smoke mostly. The utility of being able to help out teammates on the other side of encounter was just huge. There were quite a few times where I could just toss a smoke grenade onto them as they res to ensure that they escaped. Even just being able to have a panic ninja smoke bomb for myself was awesome in sticky situations. I got to mess around with Venom when we did a few PvP matches. It worked okay, but I didn't get to use it enough to really get a grasp on how it performed, and more testing will be required. I didn't use Snare at all just because it didn't seem like it would be that interesting to me. The path stats are completely unchanged, and I doubt we'll see them change in the final build since they're the same in the other two subclasses. So for now, we won't be going over those. Let's take a look at the new passive talents. Courage of the Pack. Killing tethered targets increases recovery and armor for you and nearby allies, stacks up to 5 times. Light of the Pack. Killing tethered targets creates orbs of light for your allies. And Lockdown. Grenades and smoke effects last twice as long, allowing strong territory control. Of these talents, I got to mess around with Light of the Pack the most since I was doing group-focused activities. Courage of the Pack would have been nice, but creating orbs is always going to be welcome in any group and doesn't require your team to be close by. Pairing Light of the Pack with Bloodbound would be amazing for some serious orb generation in PvE. In PvP, I think Lockdown will be the go-to talent, and here are the final passive perk talent trees. Keen Scout. Sprint and sneak faster. Gain enhanced tracker and ability to mark targets you damage. Predator. The Void Anchors fired from Shadowshot become traps that stick to surfaces and wait for prey, and then Shade Step was unchanged from the E3 build. So I exclusively messed around with Shade Step while I had access to this subclass. It was a new move and ability, and I wanted to find out exactly how it works. Here's everything I learned about Shade Step. It performs like Blink in that you can Shade Step once and then again, but you'll have to wait a bit before you can activate it again. You cannot Shade Step in the air. You can only do it on the ground. You can only Shade Step forward, backward, and side to side. I believe you can take damage during it as well, but I only have this one clip to go on where Cabal melees me during the animation. It'll take some actual testing to confirm this though. And finally, you can Shade Step while standing still, or Shade Step while running. Overall, Shadestep is going to be the PvP talent. You can do a quick slide into a Shadestep to cover quick ground towards an objective or retreat behind cover that would normally be a little bit too far out of reach. I didn't have a good sniper to use, so I couldn't test being able to Shadestep and then getting off a quickscope, but I did run it using a shotgun, and it felt pretty dirty. Being able to combat roll behind someone or reactively close a gap on someone who got the drop on you was just clutch. In my opinion, it will not become the new Blink though. It is powerful, but the area you cover with it isn't as great as Blink, so if someone uses it aggressively on you, chances are they were already in kill range but wanted to ensure a kill by disorienting you a little bit. And I suppose there are two other talents in the tree aside from Shadestep. Again, I didn't want to use them because I wanted some quality alone time with Shadestep, but both of them have great theoretical applications in PvE and PvP. Keen Scout will be a great group-focused build, where you can mark the high-priority kill targets. The enhanced motion tracker and increased mobility will be interesting to mess around with in PvP. We'll have to see if it ends up being better than Shadestep for mobility reasons. Predator will also be good for holding off some choke points in the more chaotic fights, and depending how visible the anchors are, it would be nice to drop one on a control or a heavy ammo point before they go off so you can surprise some enemies. So overall, for the design of the Night Stalker, I am very pleased with the redesign. The E3 build seemed to have a huge toolbox build centered around it, and individually all the talents were cool and had really niche uses, but they just didn't mesh well together. That would make for frustrating gameplay, since sometimes you just might have the wrong talent selected for a given encounter. Now in this build, all of the talents seems like they'll be useful and they work well together. There are some very obvious PvE builds and synergies, like Bloodbound plus Light of the Pack to help generate more orbs for your team, and then some nice PvP talent spreads to help out in every category. Well, you've seen the changes, and now it's time to decide for yourself. Are Night Stalkers better off than they were a couple of months ago, or did Bungie botch the redesign? Let us know if you're as excited for the Night Stalker as ever, or if the Sunbreaker or Stormcaller are going to be your go-to class. But remember, those classes have changed too, and we already have articles going over the new subclasses as well. I'll be putting out a new video every day on the new subclasses in case you're wanting to watch those. I wanted to do Night Stalker first, since that's the class I actually got to play while I was at Bungie. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been Patrick Casey with Planet Destiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.